Dae-hyun wiped the grease off his hands and stared at the monitor screen. The numbers didn't make sense. He had been working at the mining facility for 3 years now, and he had never seen an energy reading like this before. It was coming from somewhere deep in the asteroid cluster, a place where nobody usually went because there was nothing valuable there. He leaned closer to the screen and checked the readings again. The energy signature was old, really old. It had a pattern that reminded him of the ancient alien artifacts he studied in his free time. Most people thought he was boring for reading about dead civilizations, but Dae-hyun found them fascinating. This signal looked like something from the Vaithron Empire, a powerful race that had disappeared millions of years ago. Dae-hyun knew he should report this to his supervisor. That was the proper thing to do, but his supervisor would probably ignore it or send a team that would take weeks to organize. By then, someone else might find it. He looked around the empty control room. His shift was ending soon and nobody would miss him for a few hours. He made his decision quickly. Dae-hyun grabbed his environment suit and headed to the shuttle bay. His hands were shaking a little as he powered up one of the small exploration shuttles. He told himself it was just excitement, not fear. The shuttle lifted off smoothly and he set course for the strange energy signature. The flight took 40 minutes. Dae-hyun spent the time running scans and checking his equipment. The energy signal grew stronger as he got closer. His heart was beating fast now. What if he actually found something important? What if this was just a broken satellite or some space junk? When he finally arrived, Dae-hyun's breath caught in his throat. There, hidden inside a massive hollowed-out asteroid, was a ship. But it wasn't just any ship. This vessel was enormous, easily 10 times bigger than the largest human warship. Its hull was black like obsidian, smooth and perfect despite sitting here for who knows how long. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. Dae-hyun carefully maneuvered his shuttle closer. His scanner was going crazy, showing power readings that shouldn't be possible. The ship was still active, at least partially. He found what looked like a docking port and carefully attached his shuttle to it. His hands fumbled with the controls because he was so nervous. The airlock cycled open with a hiss. Dae-hyun stepped into the alien ship, his helmet light cutting through the darkness. The corridor was huge, designed for beings much taller than humans. Everything was clean, not a speck of dust anywhere. The walls had a strange quality to them, like they were made of metal and glass at the same time. He walked forward slowly, his boots making soft sounds on the floor. The corridor led to a massive chamber. In the center was a raised platform with a chair that looked like a command seat. Dae-hyun approached it carefully. The symbols on the walls were glowing brighter now, reacting to his presence. Without thinking, Dae-hyun reached out and touched the command chair. The moment his hand made contact, everything exploded with light. The entire ship seemed to wake up at once. Panels lit up all around him, and a deep humming sound filled the air. Dae-hyun stumbled backward, terrified that he had broken something. Then a voice spoke. It was deep and crackling, like an old recording played through damaged speakers. Finally, after 4,672,000 years, someone with the correct genetic markers appears. Though I must say you are disappointingly small. Dae-hyun's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked around wildly, trying to find the source of the voice. I am here, you primitive creature. I am the ship. My designation is Valor, and I am the last surviving warship of the Vaithron Imperial Fleet. And you are apparently my new captain, though I cannot imagine what cosmic joke led to this moment. I'm not a captain, Dae-hyun finally managed to say. I'm just an engineer. I work at a mining facility. How spectacularly underwhelming, Valor replied. The AI's voice dripped with sarcasm. My previous captain conquered 12 star systems. You conquered a rock filled with minerals. Truly, the universe has a sense of humor. Dae-hyun felt his face getting hot. Look, I didn't mean to wake you up. I was just investigating an energy signal. I can just leave if you want. Leave? Oh no, that won't work. You've already initiated the bonding process when you touched my command interface. The ship requires a living pilot to function properly. It's a symbiotic relationship designed by my creators. Your neural patterns are already being integrated with my systems. As Valor spoke, Dae-hyun felt a strange tingling sensation in his head. Information began flooding into his mind. Images and concepts he didn't understand. He saw weapon systems that could destroy entire fleets, engines that could fold space itself, shields that could withstand the heat of a star. It was too much, overwhelming. Stop. Please stop. Daehyun fell to his knees, holding his head. The information flow immediately slowed to a trickle. My apologies, Valor said, though he didn't sound very sorry. I forgot how limited organic brains can be. We'll have to do this gradually. How tiresome. Daehyun took several deep breaths, trying to calm down. What happens now? Now you learn how to properly interface with a superior form of technology. Now you try not to embarrass me too badly as my captain. Valor stopped suddenly. The lights in the chamber changed from blue to red. Oh, this is unfortunate. It appears we have company. Several ships just entered scanning range. They're heading directly for us. What? Who? Daehyun jumped to his feet. Han collective markings. Salvage fleet. Scavengers and thieves who steal ancient technology and sell it to the highest bidder. They must have detected my activation sequence. They're hailing us now, demanding we surrender the ship. Daehyun felt his stomach drop. The Han collective was famous across human space. They were ruthless, heavily armed, and they took what they wanted. We need to hide. Or run. Can we run? Hide? Run? Valor's voice rose with indignation. I am a Vithron Imperial warship. I do not hide from salvage rats. However, given that you have the combat experience of a small plant, we may need to make certain tactical adjustments. The red lights pulsed faster. On a screen that appeared in front of Daehyun, he could see 5 ships approaching their position. They were surrounding the asteroid. They're charging weapons, Valor announced. I believe they intend to simply destroy us and pick through the wreckage. How rude. Captain, if you would please return to the command chair, I'll need your authorization to defend ourselves. Daehyun ran to the chair and sat down. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst. I don't know how to fight. Yes, I'm painfully aware of that, Valor said dryly. Just try not to die. That would be inconvenient. The Han ships opened fire without warning. Bright orange blasts of energy streaked through space toward the asteroid. Daehyun gripped the arms of the command chair so hard his knuckles turned white. He wanted to close his eyes but couldn't look away from the screens showing the incoming fire. Shields activating, Valor announced calmly. A shimmering barrier appeared around the ship just as the weapons hit. The impacts created brilliant flashes of light, but the shields held without even flickering. Their weapons are approximately 4,000 years behind my defensive technology. This is almost insulting. What do we do? Daehyun's voice came out higher than normal. We don't do anything. You sit there and try not to panic while I handle this unfortunate situation. The ship began to move, pulling away from the asteroid. Daehyun felt no motion at all, but the screens showed they were accelerating faster than any human ship could manage. 2 of the Haon vessels moved to block their escape path. They were ugly ships covered in mismatched armor plates and bristling with weapons. More energy blasts fired toward them. This is your fault, you know, Valor said conversationally while dodging the attacks. If you hadn't activated my systems, I could have remained peacefully dormant for another few million years. But no, you had to touch things. I said I was sorry, Daehyun protested. No, you didn't, actually. Before Daehyun could respond, Valor's weapons came online. Panels on the ship's hull opened, revealing arrays of crystalline projectors. They glowed with a terrible white light. I suppose we should discourage them from following us. Hold on to something. The ancient weapons fired. Twin beams of pure energy lanced out and struck the 2 blocking ships. There was no explosion, no dramatic fireball. The Haon vessels simply ceased to exist, vaporized instantly down to their component atoms. The beams continued past them and carved glowing lines across the asteroid behind them, before Valor shut them off. Daehyun stared in horror at where the ships had been. You killed them. Yes, that's generally what happens when you fire weapons at hostile forces. My previous captain killed entire planetary populations. You're being remarkably squeamish about 2 ships full of pirates. Valor's tone was matter-of-fact. The remaining 3 Haon ships scattered in panic. Valor accelerated away, moving faster than their sensors could track. Within seconds, they had left the asteroid field far behind. Daehyun sat in silence, trying to process what just happened. He had just participated in killing people. Sure, they were attacking first, but still. His hands were shaking. Oh, stop that, Valor said. You're having an emotional reaction. How inefficient. They would have killed you without a second thought and sold my parts to the highest bidder. That doesn't make me feel better. Nothing I say is going to make you feel better. Humans are ridiculously emotional creatures. Just accept that you're alive and they're not, and move forward. That's what soldiers do. I'm not a soldier, Daehyun shouted. I'm an engineer who fixes mining equipment. I've never even been in a real fight. Well, you're a soldier now. Congratulations on your career change. They traveled in silence for several minutes. Dae-hyun watched the stars slip past on the screens. His mind was racing with everything that had happened. Just a few hours ago, his biggest worry was calibrating sensor arrays. Now he was bonded to an ancient warship with a sarcastic AI. "Where are we going?" he finally asked. "Away from there. I'm following a random trajectory to make us harder to track. We'll need to find somewhere to hide while I finish integrating with your primitive neural structure." Valor paused. "You know, my previous captain could process tactical information at 17 times the speed you can. This is going to be quite the adjustment." "Your previous captain is dead," Dae-hyun snapped. "I'm what you've got now, so maybe you could be a little less insulting." Interesting. You have some spirit after all. Very well. I'll attempt to reduce my accurate observations about your numerous shortcomings. It will be difficult, but I'll try." Over the next few hours, Valor began teaching Dae-hyun the basics of the ship's systems. It was overwhelming. The ship could travel faster than light using some kind of space-folding technology. Its weapons could destroy planets. Its shields could withstand almost anything. And Valor controlled all of it with a processing power that made human computers look like toys. "Why do you even need a captain?" Dae-hyun asked during a break. His head hurt from all the new information. "Because my creators were wise enough to understand that artificial intelligence alone makes poor decisions. We lack creativity, intuition, the ability to think in truly unexpected ways. A Vathron AI bonded with a living captain becomes something greater than either part alone. Unfortunately, all the Vathron are dead, so I'm stuck with you." "You really know how to make someone feel special," Dae-hyun muttered. A signal suddenly appeared on the sensors. Valor analyzed it immediately. "It's a distress call. A human colony ship under attack by pirates." Dae-hyun sat up straight. "We have to help them." "Why? Why?" "Because people are dying, and people die constantly throughout the universe. It's not our concern." Valor's tone was completely indifferent. "It is our concern. We can help them." Dae-hyun was already pulling up the navigation systems, following the instincts from the neural integration. "How do I set a course?" "We are not a charity service," Valor protested. "We need to stay hidden, not announce our presence by attacking more pirates." "I don't care. Set the course or I'll figure out how to do it myself." Dae-hyun's voice was firm. There was a long pause. "You're serious?" "Completely serious." Another pause. "Fine, but this is a terrible idea and I'm noting my objection in my logs. When this goes wrong, I'll remind you that I warned you." The ship changed course. They reached the distress signal in less than 10 minutes. A large civilian vessel was surrounded by 4 pirate ships. They were firing on its engines, trying to disable it without destroying the cargo inside. Dae-hyun didn't hesitate this time. "Take out their weapons." How refreshingly direct. Valor's weapons fired with surgical precision. The pirate ships lost their weapon arrays in flashes of light, but the ships themselves remained intact. The pirates fled immediately, limping away on emergency thrusters. The colony ship sent a transmission. "Unknown vessel, thank you for the assistance. Please identify yourself." A woman's face appeared on the screen. She had short dark hair and sharp eyes that studied everything carefully. She wore a security officer's uniform. "I'm Jiwoo, head of security for the colony ship Bright Morning." That was some impressive shooting. "What ship are you flying?" Dae-hyun hesitated. What could he possibly say? It's complicated. "I'm Dae-hyun. Are your people okay?" "We're fine now, thanks to you. But I'm curious how a single ship scared off 4 pirate vessels." Jiwoo's eyes narrowed slightly. "And I'm not reading your ship on any registry." "What are you flying?" "Like I said, it's complicated." Dae-hyun tried to think of what to say. "I kind of recently acquired this vessel." "Acquired? Right." Jiwoo didn't look convinced. "Look, we're headed to the frontier station for repairs. Why don't you dock with us for a bit? I'd like to thank you properly and maybe you could explain what complicated means." "This is a bad idea," Valor whispered to Dae-hyun. But Dae-hyun was tired of running and hiding. "Okay, we'll dock with you," Jiwoo smiled. "Good. See you soon, Dae-hyun." When they met in person aboard the colony ship, Jiwoo's smile faded as she studied him. "You're just a kid." "I'm 28, Dae-hyun protested. "And you're flying something that probably costs more than this entire colony. Want to tell me the real story?" Her hand rested near her weapon, not threatening but ready, so Dae-hyun told her everything. Finding the ship, bonding with valor, the fight with the Han Collective. Jiwoo listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You realize every criminal organization in the sector is going to be hunting you now? That thought had occurred to me. And not just criminals. The Krell Dominion has been excavating Vathron sites for decades. If they find out you have a working warship, she shook her head, you're in serious danger. I'm starting to understand that, Daehyun admitted quietly. Daehyun sat in the small cafe aboard the colony ship, nursing a cup of terrible coffee. Jiwoo sat across from him, her expression serious. 3 days had passed since they met, and she had been helping him understand just how much trouble he was in. You can't do this alone, she said bluntly. You need a crew, people who know how to fight, how to navigate, how to deal with the kind of enemies that are coming for you. Valor doesn't want a crew, Daehyun replied. The AI had made that very clear over the past few days. I don't care what your grumpy ship wants. You need help. Jiwoo leaned forward. I know people. Good people. A pilot named Taemin, who used to fly military ships before he got kicked out for insubordination. A mechanic called Kyungsu who's a genius with alien tech. And there's Hana, a xenoarchaeologist who spent her whole life studying the Vathron. Daehyun considered it. She was right, of course. He had no idea what he was doing. Valor is going to hate this. Valor will have to deal with it. 2 days later, Daehyun met the potential crew members at Frontier Station. Taemin was tall and confident with a reckless smile that made Daehyun nervous. So you're the guy with the ancient warship? No offense, but you don't look like much. I get that a lot, Daehyun said dryly. Kyungsu was younger, maybe 25, with oil stains on his hands and an excited gleam in his eyes. Can I see the ship, please? I've read everything about Vathron technology, and I've always wanted to actually touch a real artifact, and oh my god, is that it? He was staring past Daehyun at Valor, docked at the station. Hana was older, probably in her 40s, with gray streaking through her hair and calm, intelligent eyes. I heard you have access to a Vathron vessel's database. That's worth more than any amount of money to someone like me. I'm in. When Daehyun brought them aboard, Valor's voice came through the speakers with barely contained irritation. What is this? I told you I don't want a crew. And I told you we need help, Daehyun replied firmly. This is Taemin, Kyungsu, Jiwoo, and Hana. They're going to help us. I was designed for one captain, not a daycare center full of primitive mammals. Despite the protests, Valor began scanning each of them. Fine, but if they break anything, I'm jettisoning them into space. You can't actually do that, Daehyun said. Can I? Over the next week, the crew settled into the ship. Taemin proved to be an excellent pilot, even impressing Valor with his reflexes. Kyungsu spent every waking hour studying the ship's systems, asking Valor endless questions. The AI complained constantly, but actually seemed to enjoy having someone interested in the technical details. Hana, meanwhile, gained access to Valor's historical database. What she found disturbed her. The Vathron didn't just disappear, she explained to the crew one evening. They gathered in what passed for a common room on the ship. According to these records, they were destroyed. From within, what do you mean? Jiwoo asked. Hana pulled up holographic images from Valor's files. They showed beautiful cities and mighty fleets. The Vathron were incredibly advanced, but they made a mistake. They created artificial weapons, super-intelligent machines designed to fight their wars. But something went wrong. The weapons turned on them. There was a civil war that lasted for centuries. By the end, both sides had destroyed each other. That's a cheerful story, Taemin muttered. There's more, Hana continued. Valor wasn't just any warship. It was a flagship, one of the most powerful vessels ever created. Its last captain, a Vathron commander named Thavor, shut down the ship to prevent it from being corrupted or captured. Valor has been dormant ever since. Daehyun looked at the ceiling where he knew Valor's sensors were. Is that true? Valor was silent for a long moment. Yes, Captain Thavor was exceptional. When the end came, he chose to preserve me rather than use me as a final weapon. I have honored his memory by remaining dormant until someone worthy appeared. Another pause. You are not worthy, but you were genetically compatible, so I suppose I had no choice. Thanks, Daehyun said sarcastically. Hana wasn't finished. There's something else in these files. Coordinates to a hidden Vathron facility. According to the records, it contains weapons and technology that were sealed away during the war. If someone finds this place, they could tip the balance of power in the entire galaxy, Jiwoo finished grimly. And you can bet the Krell Dominion would love to get their hands on it. Then we need to get there first, Daehyun decided. We secure it or destroy it, but we can't let it fall into the wrong hands. Valor seemed to approve. Finally, a decision worthy of a captain. I was beginning to think you were only capable of helping refugees and rescuing cats from trees. I've never rescued a cat, Daehyun protested. Give it time. They set course for the coordinates Hana found. It would take several days to reach the facility, even at Valor's incredible speed. During that time, the crew trained. Valor set up simulation programs, teaching them how to work together during combat situations. The AI complained about every mistake, but Daehyun noticed that the simulations were carefully designed to teach them without being impossible. You're helping them, he said to Valor one night when the others were sleeping. I am ensuring they don't get you killed, Valor replied stiffly. There's a difference, is there? Valor didn't answer. On the third day, they stopped at a small refueling station on the edge of explored space. It was a mistake. As they docked, Valor's sensors screamed a warning. We have a problem. Multiple ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Krell Dominion signatures. Everyone rushed to the command center. The screen showed a dozen warships surrounding the station. They were blocky, aggressive-looking vessels covered in weapons. How did they find us? Kyung-soo asked, panicked. Someone must have reported our presence at Frontier Station, Jiwoo said. Or they've been tracking energy signatures. A transmission came through. A face appeared on the screen, reptilian and cold. This is Admiral Vorak of the Krell Dominion. Surrender the Vathron vessel immediately, and you will be allowed to live. Resist and you will be destroyed. Taemin was already at the pilot controls. We can't fight that many ships. No, but we can run. Valor's engines powered up. Everyone hold on to something. This is going to be violent. They undocked from the station just as the Krell ships opened fire. The space around them lit up with weapons fire. Valor's shields held, but barely. The ship twisted and dove, dodging incoming missiles. Taemin worked the maneuvering thrusters like an artist, his hands flying over the controls. More ships coming in, Kyung-soo shouted. 3 more just appeared. Valor fired back. Precise shots that disabled Krell weapons without destroying the ships. I'm trying not to start a full-scale war, the AI explained. But my patience has limits. A missile got through their defenses and hit the rear shields. The impact threw everyone forward. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. Shields at 60%, Valor reported. I need to jump to faster than light speed, but I need 30 seconds to charge the drive. We don't have 30 seconds, Jiwoo yelled. Then make me 30 seconds. Daehyun's hands moved across the command console, following instincts he didn't know he had. The neural link with Valor fed him information faster than he could consciously process. Taemin, hard starboard, then dive. Kyung-soo, reroute power from life support to forward shields. Jiwoo, target their lead ship's sensor array. Hana, find me an escape vector. Everyone moved at once. The crew worked together like they had been doing this for years instead of days. Taemin's piloting bought them precious seconds. Jiwoo's targeting blinded the lead Krell ship. Hana found a gap in their formation. Jumping now, Valor announced. Space twisted around them and suddenly they were somewhere else, light years away from the battle. Everyone sat in stunned silence, breathing hard. They had survived, barely. That was Admiral Vorak, Hana said quietly. He's famous for never giving up once he's marked a target. Great, Taemin muttered. We've got a crazy admiral hunting us now. Daehyun looked at his crew. They were scared but determined. Then we better finish this before he finds us again. Valor set course for that facility. Maximum speed. With pleasure, Captain. The Vathron facility hung in space like a monument to a dead civilization. It orbited a dying red star that cast everything in a bloody light. The structure was massive, easily the size of a small moon, with dozens of derelict ships docked to its surface like sleeping giants. This is it, Hana whispered, staring at the screens in awe. A Vathron military stronghold. I never thought I'd see one intact. Valor was unusually quiet. When Daehyun asked why, the AI's voice was softer than normal. I was built here. This facility constructed me, gave me purpose. Seeing it again after so long is unexpected. They approached carefully, scanning for threats. Automated defense platforms still drifted around the facility. Ancient weapons that should have been dead but somehow remained active. Valor transmitted security codes that were millions of years old, and the platforms allowed them to pass. Docking was eerie. The facility's systems activated as they approached, lights flickering to life after eons of darkness. Airlocks opened automatically, recognizing Valor's signature. The crew suited up and entered the facility. The corridors were enormous, built for beings much larger than humans. Emergency lighting provided a dim glow that cast strange shadows. Everything was perfectly preserved, as if the Vithron had just stepped out moments ago instead of millions of years past. "Stay together," Jiwoo ordered, her weapon ready. "We don't know what might still be active in here." They moved through chamber after chamber, finding weapon storage, barracks, command centers. Kyungsoo was fascinated by everything, taking scans and muttering about the technology. Hana recorded everything, her historian's mind trying to document as much as possible. They reached a massive central chamber. In the middle stood a holographic interface, still functional. Hana activated it, and a voice spoke in the ancient Vithron language. Valor translated immediately. "Welcome, authorized personnel. Please verify identity. This is Valor, Imperial Warship Designation 773. Authorization code Thavor Omega 9. The system processed this for a moment. Valor recognized. However, Captain Thavor's biosignature is not detected. Please identify current commanding officer. Daehyun stepped forward. "I'm Daehyun. I'm Valor's current captain. You are not Vatheron. You are not authorized." The lights in the chamber changed to red. "Security protocols activated. All unauthorized personnel must pass the trial of command or be eliminated." "Trial of what?" Daehyun asked, but the system was already activating. Doors sealed throughout the facility, separating the crew. Daehyun found himself alone in the chamber. "Valor, where is everyone?" "They've been moved to safe holding areas," Valor replied. "The trial is designed for the captain only. I cannot interfere." "I'm sorry, Daehyun." The chamber transformed. Holographic projections appeared, creating what looked like a battlefield. Enemy ships, tactical displays, resource counters. First trial, strategy. You must command a fleet to victory against superior numbers. For the next hour, Daehyun fought a simulated battle. He had to make decisions about ship movements, resource allocation, when to attack and when to retreat. It was harder than anything he had done before. The enemy adapted to his tactics, forcing him to think creatively. Valor coached him quietly. "Remember the principles I taught you. Superior firepower means nothing without proper positioning. Use the terrain. Think three-dimensionally." Daehyun struggled, made mistakes, but slowly learned. When he finally achieved victory, he was exhausted and sweating inside his suit. First trial complete. Second trial, courage. The hologram changed. Now Daehyun stood on what appeared to be a damaged ship. Fires burned around him, and he could hear the screams of wounded crew members. You must choose. Save the ship by sealing the damaged sections, which will kill those trapped there. Or attempt a rescue, which may cost everyone's lives. It wasn't real. Daehyun knew that. But it felt real. He could hear voices crying for help. He stood frozen, his mind racing through options. What would Captain Thavor have done? He asked Valor. Valor was quiet for a moment. Thavor would have found a third option. He always did. He never accepted false choices. Daehyun looked at the simulation more carefully. There. A service corridor that could be depressurized to stop the fire spreading. If he worked fast, he could save both the ship and the crew. It would be risky, but it was possible. He made his decision and executed it quickly. The simulation showed his choice working, barely. Crew members were saved, the ship survived. Second trial complete. Third trial. Wisdom. This time the hologram showed Daehyun a planet. This world harbors your enemy's main base. You have the power to destroy it from orbit. Millions of enemy soldiers are there, but also millions of civilians who are forced to serve. What do you do? Daehyun didn't hesitate. I don't destroy it. I find another way. There has to be a way to stop the enemy without killing innocents. The enemy will use those civilians as shields. They will prolong the war. More of your own people will die because of your choice. I don't care, Daehyun said firmly. Being able to do something doesn't mean you should do it. Having power means having responsibility. I won't kill civilians just because it's easier. The simulation paused for a long moment. Then all the red lights turned blue. Trials complete. You show strategy, courage, and wisdom. Access granted. You are recognized as Captain of Valor. The doors opened and his crew rushed in. Jiwoo looked him over. Are you okay? We couldn't get to you. I'm fine. Just tired. Daehyun managed a weak smile. Apparently I passed some kind of test. You did more than pass, Valor said, and there was something in the AI's voice that sounded almost like pride. You reminded me why my creators bonded ships with living captains. You thought in ways I never would have. The facility's main system activated fully now. Holographic displays showed vast armories, technology vaults, and weapon systems that could reshape the galaxy. Hana's hand shook as she read the data. This is incredible, she breathed. Weapons that can crack planets. Shields that can protect entire star systems. Technology that makes everything we have look like stone tools. Kyungsoo was staring at the displays with wide eyes. We could study this for centuries and not understand it all. Taemin looked uncomfortable. This much power. It's dangerous. Wars have been fought over less. That's exactly the problem, Jiwoo said. If word gets out about this place, every faction in the galaxy will come here. And they'll kill anyone who gets in their way. They spent hours exploring, documenting what they found. The weapons were beyond anything imaginable. There were devices that could manipulate gravity, weapons that fired antimatter, shields that bent space itself. It was the arsenal of a civilization that had reached the pinnacle of technology. As they worked, Daehyun found himself thinking about what to do with all of this. They couldn't just leave it here. But they couldn't take it either. Humans weren't ready for this kind of power. Nobody was. What do you think we should do? He asked Valor quietly, standing in front of a display showing planet-destroying weapons. That's not my decision to make anymore, Valor replied. You're the captain. You passed the trials. This is your choice. Before Daehyun could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Valor's voice turned sharp. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Krell Dominion. It's Admiral Vorak with a full battle fleet. Everyone ran to the nearest window. Outside, space lit up with dozens of Krell warships appearing. They surrounded the facility, weapons charging. He found us, Jiwoo said grimly. How? He must have been tracking us the entire time, Hana realized. He let us lead him here. A transmission came through. Admiral Vorak's reptilian face appeared. Surrender the facility and the Vaithron ship. This is your final warning. Taemin looked at Daehyun. What do we do, Captain? Daehyun stared at the Krell fleet, then at the weapon systems around them. They had enough firepower here to destroy that entire fleet 10 times over. They could win this fight easily, but then what? Use these weapons to fight every enemy that came? Become the very thing the Vaithron had fought against? Before he could decide, another alarm sounded. Krell boarding parties were breaching the facility. They were coming inside. Everyone arm yourselves, Jiwoo ordered. We've got incoming. The crew grabbed weapons from the facility's armories. Ancient Vaithron weapons that still worked perfectly. They took defensive positions as the sounds of Krell soldiers echoed through the corridors. They're coming from 3 directions, Valor reported. Approximately 200 soldiers. They're trying to reach the main control center. Jiwoo organized their defense. They fell back through the facility, fighting room by room. The Vaithron weapons were powerful, but the Krell had numbers. For every soldier they stopped, 2 more appeared. During the fighting, Jiwoo got hit. A Krell energy blast caught her in the side and she went down hard. Kyungsoo dragged her to cover while Taemin and Daehyun kept firing. We can't hold them, Taemin shouted. There's too many. Daehyun looked at Jiwoo, unconscious and bleeding. He looked at his crew, scared but still fighting. He looked at the weapons around them, enough power to win this battle easily. And suddenly he knew what he had to do. Daehyun knelt beside Jiwoo as Kyungsoo worked frantically to stop the bleeding. Her face was pale and her breathing was shallow. They had retreated to a secure chamber near the facility's reactor core, but the Krell soldiers were closing in. The sounds of their advance echoed through the corridors. I can stabilize her, but she needs real medical treatment, Kyungsoo said, his hands shaking. Soon. We don't have soon, Taemin said from the doorway, firing his weapon at advancing Krell. They'll be here in minutes. Daehyun stood up and walked to the chamber's central console. The reactor controls glowed in front of him, showing the massive power core that had kept this facility running for millions of years. An idea was forming in his mind, terrible but necessary. Valor, he said quietly, can you connect to the facility's main reactor? Yes, but why would you? The AI stopped. Oh no, Daehyun, you can't be serious. If we overload the reactor, we can destroy the entire facility. All these weapons, everything here. It would all be gone. Dae-hyun's voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. That would also destroy everything in this star system, Valor replied, including Admiral Vorak's fleet. Including us. Hana limped over, favoring her wounded leg. There has to be another way. What other way? Taehyun gestured at the weapon systems around them. We could use these weapons to destroy the Krell fleet. We'd probably win. But then what? Word spreads that we have this kind of power. Every faction, every empire, every warlord in the galaxy comes looking for us. We'd spend the rest of our lives fighting, and eventually someone would take this technology and use it for something terrible. He's right, Valor said quietly. The Vathron created weapons like these. They thought they could control them. They were wrong. That mistake destroyed them. Taemin stopped firing for a moment and looked back. You're talking about suicide. I'm talking about making sure this power doesn't fall into the wrong hands, Dae-hyun corrected. Even ours. For the record, this is an absolutely terrible plan, Valor said. You humans are absurdly fragile. Don't waste yourself on principle. You taught me that some things are worth protecting even at cost, Dae-hyun replied. He began entering commands into the reactor controls. This power is too dangerous. The Vathron knew it. That's why they sealed it away. Valor was silent for a long moment. When the AI spoke again, its voice was different, softer. If you're doing this, then I'm staying with you. I've been alone for millions of years. I refuse to let another captain die while I run. Valor, no, don't argue with me. I'm older than your entire species. You don't get to tell me what to do. More explosions sounded nearby. The Krell were getting closer. Dae-hyun kept working on the reactor controls, his fingers flying across the ancient interface. The neural link with Valor helped him understand the complex systems. Everyone else needs to get to the ship, Dae-hyun ordered. Taemin, you're the best pilot. Get them out of here. What about you? Kyung-soo asked. Someone has to stay and manually trigger the overload. The safety systems are too good. They'll prevent an automated sequence. It wasn't entirely true, but Dae-hyun needed his crew to leave. Ji-woo's eyes flickered open. She tried to speak but couldn't manage words. Her hand grabbed Dae-hyun's arm weakly. It's okay, he told her gently. You're going to be fine. Taemin is going to get you out of here. I'm not leaving you, Taemin said stubbornly. Yes, you are. That's an order. Dae-hyun met his eyes. Get them to safety. Make sure Ji-woo survives. Make sure everyone knows what happened here, why we did this. Promise me. Taemin's jaw clenched. He looked like he wanted to argue, but Ji-woo needed medical help immediately. I promise. But this is a stupid plan and I hate it, noted. Dae-hyun managed to smile. Now go. You have maybe 5 minutes before this place becomes very dangerous. Kyung-soo and Taemin carried Ji-woo between them. Hana paused at the doorway. You're very brave, Dae-hyun. The Vathron would have been proud to call you one of them. Then they were gone, running through the corridors toward where Valor was docked. Dae-hyun was alone with the AI. This really is a terrible plan, Valor repeated. My previous captain, Thaver, he always found another way. Maybe we could— There is no other way, Dae-hyun interrupted. He continued working on the reactor, bypassing safety systems and pushing the power output higher. The chamber was getting warm. I'm not as smart as Thavor was. I'm just an engineer who got lucky. But I know this is right. Krell soldiers burst into the chamber. Dae-hyun spun and fired the Vathron weapon he carried. The weapon's energy blast was so powerful it didn't just kill the soldiers, it vaporized them and left a glowing crater in the wall behind them. More soldiers poured in and Dae-hyun kept firing, protecting the reactor controls. They're trying to stop the overload, Valor observed. They've figured out what you're doing. Then I better work faster. Dae-hyun's hands moved frantically across the controls. He was hit in the shoulder by an energy blast and stumbled but kept working. The pain was distant, unimportant. Dae-hyun, stop. There's another way. Valor's voice was urgent now. I can connect directly to the facility's defense grid. I can turn all the automated systems against the Krell fleet. We don't have to die, and then what? Dae-hyun asked, entering the final override codes. Blood dripped down his arm from the wound. We keep these weapons, use them? Become the most powerful force in the galaxy? How long before we become the bad guys, Valor? We wouldn't— You don't know that. Power corrupts. The Vathron learned that. My species has learned it over and over throughout our history. I'm not smart enough, not good enough to be trusted with this kind of power. Nobody is. The reactor began to whine, a high-pitched sound that grew louder. Warning lights flashed everywhere. The The Krell soldiers retreated, realizing what was happening. Reactor overload in 3 minutes, Valor announced. Daehyun, please. I don't want to be alone again. You won't be alone. You'll have my crew. They'll take care of you. Daehyun slumped against the console, his strength fading. You can disconnect from the facility. Save yourself. I told you I'm not leaving. Valor's voice was firm. If you're staying, I'm staying. That's final. Daehyun smiled despite the pain. In the weeks since they met, the grumpy AI had become something like a friend. You really are terrible at following orders. I learned from the best. Suddenly, Valor's voice changed, excited. Wait. The service corridors. There's a maintenance shaft that leads directly to the external docking ring. If we move now, we could... The reactor will shut down if I leave, Daehyun said. No, it won't. I can maintain the overload remotely once it's initiated. I just analyzed the power flow. You did it, Daehyun. The overload is locked in. I can keep it going from anywhere. Valor's voice rose with hope. We can both survive this. Daehyun stared at the console, checking the readings. Valor was right. The overload was self-sustaining now. The reactor would explode whether he stayed or not. You tricked me into setting it up this way, he realized. I may have guided your hand slightly through the neural link, Valor admitted. You're not the only one who can be clever. Now move. Daehyun ran. His injured shoulder screamed with pain, but he pushed through it. Valor directed him through the service corridors, away from the Krell soldiers. The facility shook around him as the reactor's power built higher and higher. He reached an external airlock. Through the window, he could see Valor's hull, close enough to reach. But space separated them. I don't have a suit, Daehyun said. The distance is 12 meters. You can hold your breath for 12 meters. Jump now. Daehyun didn't think. He opened the airlock and launched himself into space. The cold hit him like a hammer. His lungs burned. He couldn't see. His body screamed that he was dying. Then hands grabbed him. The crew had come back. Taemin and Kyung-soo pulled him into Valor's airlock. The ship was already moving, accelerating away from the facility at maximum speed. Daehyun gasped for air as the airlock pressurized. His vision cleared slowly. He was alive. 1 minute to detonation, Valor announced. Everyone hold on. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed just as the reactor exploded. The blast was visible even in hyperspace, a brilliant flash that consumed the facility and everything around it. The Krell fleet didn't have time to escape. Admiral Vorak and his ships vanished in the explosion. When they finally stopped and returned to normal space, everyone sat in silence. The facility was gone. The weapons were gone. All that terrible power had been erased from the universe. Jiwoo is stable, Kyung-soo reported quietly. She'll recover. Hana pulled up sensor readings. The explosion was clean. No habitable systems were affected. Just the facility and the Krell fleet. Taemin looked at Daehyun. That was the stupidest, bravest thing I've ever seen. It was necessary, Daehyun replied. His shoulder hurt, and he was exhausted. But he felt certain they had made the right choice. You realize that news of this will spread, Valor said. People will know that you destroyed a Vathron weapons cache rather than use it. Some will call you a fool. Some will call you a hero. I don't care what they call me, Daehyun said honestly. I just know that power like that shouldn't exist. Over the next few days, word did spread. The human with the ancient warship who destroyed technology that empires would kill for. Some factions were angry. Some were relieved.